I'm Vicki Hogarth and welcome to Southwest Magazine. Joining me today to talk about some of the biggest events in music and culture coming to St. Andrews this fall are two of the biggest names in the St. Andrews music scene, Macdonald and Jamie Steele. Thank you both for being here today.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Jamie, I would like to congratulate you right off the bat on your East Coast Music Award this year. It's a big deal. Can you tell everyone? It's the Industry Builder Award, I believe?
Yeah, it was. Geez, it's out of left field. Yeah, no, very surprised. Every year the East Coast Music Association recognizes people sort of on the backside, not on stage, but those behind the stage, I guess, behind the scenes who do work in the industry. And the board, made up of representatives from Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and Prince Edward Island, have the dire task of choosing someone who they feel has contributed to the industry. And yeah, I was very fortunate to get a call from the board chair and announce that they'd chosen me. It was very surprising. I had no idea. It was very surprising, very humbling, and really quite an honor to receive that award.
Well, very well deserved, and
Yeah,
I hope that gives people at home a reason to come check out a concert series that's happening at the Huntsman starting this fall that you're both collaborating on.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit more about what it is and what we can expect?
Sure. So, well, me and Jamie were sort of in discussion with the Huntsman about doing a series of events there, and this started after Paddlefest this year, where we did a concert in the Dunn Theatre at the Huntsman, which is a 200 plus theatre that they have there, and they've utilized for presentations and conferences and things like that, but not so much for concerts. So yeah, after we did a concert there for Paddlefest, it was really well received and a great use of the space. So I started a conversation, and Jamie started a conversation with some folks at the Huntsman about doing a concert series there. And yeah, it just kind of snowballed from there, and then we came up with the idea to do this concert series throughout this fall, and then we're going to do another series into 2022. So we're doing three concerts this fall, and then 3 more at the beginning of next year.
All right. Well, and I should mention to people at home who might not know you, a lot of people do from Paddlefest, and Jamie also from Winter Warmer. So I guess you're joining your forces as people that create a music scene in town to do this.
Yeah.
What is the first show going to be?
Well, I after we had talked with Chris and Megan at Huntsman about the possibility of a concert series and other things actually as well, I began to get a little bit nostalgia. It's been 25 years since I've been sort of working with or presenting music in this area, and with me looking to the future and possibly moving on from Salty Towers, wondering about presenting some music that might reflect back on some of that experience. So for the first show, which is taking place at the end of September, we decided to try to reunite Hot Toddy and Isaac and Blewett, two New Brunswick favorites who were very active through the late 90s, early 2000s, up until the 2010, 2012. Hot Toddy then disbanded. Isaac and Blewett played a little bit longer, but then sort of less and less. But these guys recorded an album together back in 2010, or a little bit earlier than that, and then toured that album, and just, over the years they've just had a blast playing together. So we thought, can we get them back together? They had played at Folly Fest, I think, a few years ago, 5 years ago. But they hadn't, that's the only other time they'd played since, for years. So put the word out, and right away they all said yes.
And from what I understand, this happens around the same time as the Indulge Food and Wine Festival?
It's happening during the Beer Fest and Burger Week.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, which is happening this September, actually in a couple weeks. So yeah, that's sort of a new inaugural event that I'm co-organizing along with a few other folks. So it's a combination. We're doing a Burger Week around town, which is all the restaurants around town are doing daily burger features and specials. And then the signature event of the week is a outdoor craft beer festival in the park, in Centennial Park, which is a beautiful space here in town. So we're really excited to use the park and have a nice afternoon of beer and food and music and fun in the park. So yeah, kind of came together that I was organizing this event, and me and Jamie were talking with Huntsman about doing a concert series. So we kind of figured this might be a good weekend to start the concert series alongside the other events that are going on for the Beer Fest.
Okay, wow. So, and this is part of building shoulder season events in this community. Obviously, St. Andrews is really busy in the summertime. Was that part of the motivation for the Beer and Burger Festival?
Yeah, definitely. And I think this year the season was a little pushed back, of course, because of COVID and all the restrictions. So it's nice to be able to have something in September and, of course, indulge in October to just kind of, keep the season going a little bit before things quiet down. So yeah, it was nice to be able to bring everything together to do another event for the town in the fall.
And speaking of COVID, obviously it put events on hold for a while. You had to make some adjustments, and Paddlefest again did happen this year. What made you think of the Huntsman as a venue? Because obviously Paddlefest was used that venue, the Huntsman, for some of the concerts there. Yeah,
I mean it's a great little space that again, they've used it for their functions and different things like that. But yeah, once we did a concert there, we realized it was a really great resource for the town in terms of music and arts. And
it's large, it's
large,
200 plus seats.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's theater style. I mean, the stage isn't huge, so it will limit us somewhat in what we can present there in terms of bands and whatnot. But yeah, it's a great space, and for Paddlefest, I mean, Luke was able to space people out within that setting, but still have a decent size audience, and it sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's perfect for maybe more acoustic based acts.
Yeah. Solo acts,
but high quality stuff, because we have the capacity there. So who knows who you might see in the next little while.
Do you have, I was going to ask next, have you booked your second show? I looked online just before sitting down with you to see if I could see what was on the radar for future shows in this series, but I couldn't find anything beyond the first one.
Yeah, we can't quite say just yet.
Okay.
It's very soon.
Very soon.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we're just inking the deal, but there are a couple of things we have to go through yet before making that announcement, but it will be made, very, very shortly.
And again, you both are so instrumental in bringing groups of musicians to St. Andrews. You have been for years. What is the feedback you're hearing from musicians? Is it easy? Are they just desperate to play again? What was COVID like, not just for them, but for you as well, in terms of almost having a break for a while from being able to do what you love and experience music the way we love to do it?
Yeah, I would certainly say everyone's just eager, and we all sort of realize when things are taken away how much they mean to us. So not having live music and events and arts that you really engage with in person over the last year and a half, I think we all realize how much we really miss that and how important it is to our lives to have things like that. And musicians the same, they miss playing for people, and certainly they had the opportunity to play online and stuff, and that was a great option, but it's not quite the same as the live music and engaging with an audience.
Yeah, and I think St. Andrews too. I mean, Luke was, last year's, 2020 Paddlefest didn't happen, right?
Right.
But me, for example, summer came around, things were a little bit more open. I mean, through the spring, it was really kind of crazy. And the summer, things were a little bit more open, and we went ahead with shows on Minister's Island, the summer concert series, which looked a little bit different, but we were able to do it. And again, musicians were just so happy because there weren't any places to play. Well, weren't any. I mean, there's Minister's Island, there were a few other places, but by and large, that had dried up. So any opportunity that they had, and the audience as well, people were so appreciative, even if they had to sit 6 feet apart in twos, in an open setting. Still being out and hearing live music was just so, it would just, brought a smile to everybody's face. Mm-hmm. And moving through to this year, Paddlefest was able to work in a smaller version. We didn't do Winter Warmer, again, just because not knowing, how maybe to go about doing it. And it was a, smaller venue sort of based event. But again, Paddle Fest this year, and then again this past summer, the series on Minister's Island continued, and just so much thanks from the artists and from the audience.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Have you had to pivot as people that book shows? I mean, even for the ones you're planning in the future, do you always have to have sort of a backup plan or a seating plan in case the levels of recovery change and whatnot? That must be quite a headache and uncharted territory in so many ways from what you already have to deal with booking musicians to add that element.
Yeah. Well, I mean, things like contracting, I think everyone is pretty understanding. We're in different times, things are much better, so we're, crossing fingers, but we'll deal with things as they come up, and we've had that experience already, Luke especially, me not so much, but Luke with the indoor venues more than I've had to deal with. Anything that I've done over the last couple of years has really been outdoors, so it's a little bit easier to deal with.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're hoping and praying and crossing our fingers that things will remain, on the green side.
Every time I speak to you about Paddle Fest, and I've had the opportunity, I think I've interviewed Joel Plaskett at 2 Paddle Fests now, which is pretty awesome. But every time I talk to you about Paddle Fest, you say the day you start planning it is the day after the festival. So I imagine right now you're already in the thick of planning the 2022 lineup. Is that the case? And how are you moving through it during this difficult time that we're living in?
It is certainly the case to a degree, yeah. And again, still just being, I think it's a combination now. We're all a little optimistic and we're all a little cautious. And then it's just finding a balance of both, So certainly hoping that we'll be back to the regular size Paddle Fest that we had in the past with, the main stage downtown and utilizing more venues around town and maybe bigger audiences and stuff. But also, want to keep things in check and make sure that, we are able to pivot, like you said, in case things do take a turn. But really just want to remain optimistic and kind of plan, what we were planning for 2 years ago, kind of going forward with that plan a little bit. Obviously some things change here and there, but yeah, just trying to continue on and come back to where we were.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that's happened in my case too, I don't know about you, Luke, possibly, but I had a number of shows booked pre-COVID, for 2020, which got axed and rescheduled for 2021, and then got axed and are now rescheduled for 2022. So there's been that ability for agents and artists to kind of hang on, hoping that at some point we'll move through that. So yeah, so some of the shows that we had booked years ago will finally happen.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, both of your perspectives being so involved in music, what you think a time like this does to the creative process. Are you expecting to have some really great music? Is there a silver lining? Is great music going to come out of this when people are living through a difficult moment in time?
Yeah, I think so. Sure, yeah. I mean, artists have continued to write, and we've already seen examples of stuff that's come out of that in some of the live performance that we've been able to have. I know of a number of artists who have, offered new music that they've written, as a result of, what they've had to go through over the past year and a half. So yeah, I think any event that is significant to to an individual who creates is going to, it's going to influence their output.
And why do you think New Brunswick has and we're such a small province, but we seem to have this incredible music scene, and half the people I know, I feel like their day job is something else, and then they play in an incredible band at nighttime and are also very collaborative and willing to play all types of different festivals. Yeah. Why do you think that New Brunswick inspires such a creative and powerful music scene?
Well, I think one, we're in a community, and I think that's part of it. You can look at New Brunswick as just a big community. You go to places that have a larger population, and that community becomes more and more fragmented. and harder to keep together, I guess. We're of a size, even though it's 750,000 people, it's still of a size, just as the rest of Atlantic Canada is. And I think too, over the years, I mean, we've had the good fortune, like it or not. I mean, there's all kinds of debate about whether it's a worthwhile thing, but the East Coast Music Association and the individual provincial music industries associations have helped in ways that they feel are appropriate to build that community and try to keep it together and keep it moving forward, keeping it fresh, keeping opportunities available to artists. So we have that benefit. They don't have that in Ontario. There's no music industry association that's the same, or in Quebec that we have here. So I think that's part of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Booking acts. I know obviously COVID had its own issues with the border being closed for a while, but now that it's back open, and I know I've talked to you about this before, Luke, but what are some of the biggest challenges in bringing, let's say, a musician from outside of this province here when you're booking a big event like Paddle Fest? Is it finding a tour they're already on and trying to get a leg of that into St. Andrews?
Yeah, it can be. I mean, in a normal year and normal times, it can be challenging just because we are so separated from the rest of the country. And yeah, certainly, when our acts are touring, it's nice to be able to have a stop every 3 or 4 hours as opposed to 7 or 8 or whatever it may be. If they're driving, of course, or if they're flying, maybe it's a different story. But yeah, certainly the location can present a challenge. But I think a lot of artists, that's why festivals out here are important, because they give more of an opportunity for acts beyond here. We certainly focus a lot on acts here, but beyond the Atlantic provinces, bringing in acts, festivals are a great opportunity for that, because they can come in and maybe get an experience that would be different than, say, if they were just touring through. And so that's something. And we certainly, when we're booking Paddle Fest, we try and communicate that with artists that to come to St. Andrews, which is and we'll show you some maritime hospitality and show you a good time. And we're not quite Osheaga, we're not quite a large scale event by any means, but we like to treat performers well and show them some nice small town hospitality, and that's a big part of it.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, this region, Charlotte County, St. Andrews, probably the most, just has had an incredible legacy of music presentation, and the region has been very supportive of that. People who live here come out to shows, which is wonderful. And artists go away from that, and they've been coming for dozens of years to events here, whether it be single shows or festivals like Paddle Fest. And they talk, and I've had feedback from some artists. For example, I recently had a message from Matt Anderson. We all know Matt Anderson. A wonderful product of New Brunswick maritime music scene, who is internationally known now, travels not only across the country but around the world. But he recently messaged me and said, Jamie, that there's not a place that I've been playing music in Canada that when they find out that I'm from New Brunswick hasn't mentioned St. Andrews and the events that go on here. So, it's not every musician, but there's always somebody that's playing at a festival. So that's a testament to the good work that Luke has done and the struggle that I've tried to.
Really, just that I learned everything I know from Jamie. So that's. Yeah.
So we, obviously, St. Andrews and its audience, people who support music here, makes an impression on those people.
It's pretty amazing too to think of. I always think of Paddle Fest as the kickoff to summer, even though it's May, but it really feels like it starts the engine of the tourism season. And then winter warmer, there's all of a sudden this injection of tourism in the time of year we're used to being so sleepy. So the whole town is so thankful for what you do. But do you find that it's equal parts locals and visitors coming to the shows, especially in the off season?
In the off season, yeah, I would say, and this, we from what we've seen already with the first concert at the Huntsman, we've seen a mix of both locals and some people from away, and that's kind of the goal. Is we want to create more culture for the people in the community, and we also want to bring people to the community. So it's sort of finding that balance of celebrating our community and bringing people in.
Well, I think over time, Paddlefest, as an example, I mean, when I started it 27 years ago, or whatever it was, 25, anyway, a long time ago, it was mostly locals. There would be a few from St. John and Fredericton that would come down. But as it grew and and as I sort of said, it's time for me to move on, somebody else do it, and Stacey McLean took it over initially with Kevin, and then Luke came on board, and Luke really transformed that festival into a major event. And I mean, it was always a well-liked festival. I remember Brent Stabin and his Harvest Jazz and Blues crew always used to come to Paddlefest to just to chill out,
Get away.
and sometimes find a new young act that they might try to put on a stage or somewhere in the early years of that festival. But Luke's taken it to a new level, and certainly that attracts. There's a huge influx of people now that didn't happen in the early days. Mm-hmm. Winter Warmer, it's a smaller event, but yeah, we see people coming from St. John, Moncton, Nova Scotia, a few. I mean, not huge numbers, but it'll grow over time. And we are hoping that this concert series too, if we're able to bring in some well-known acts, that we'll see that too. And already this first show, Hot Toddy and Isaac and Blewett on the 24th of September, is all but sold out.
Wow.
And looking at the list of people who have bought tickets, I don't know a lot of those names.
And speaking of tickets, where do people go? Maybe this one might be sold out, but for future concerts to look to buy tickets, and as well for Beer Fest and Burger Week, are there tickets involved in that too?
Sure. So for the Hot Toddy and Isaac and Blewett concert on September 24th, the tickets are available on the Huntsman website, which I believe is huntsmanmarine.ca. And you can go and find their events tab, and you can click on the link, and so the tickets are getting low, so we would recommend anybody get tickets for that if they're looking.
We have maybe 25 left.
Yeah, and then for the Beer Fest, so the Burger Week, of course, is just at the restaurants, is happening in conjunction with the Beer Fest, so that's sort of just based on the capacity of each restaurant. The Beer Fest is happening the day after the concert, so September 25th, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m., and so tickets are available on the website for that, which is standrewsbeerfest.com. And yeah, we're really looking forward to just these two events happening together. Well, 3 events, with the Burger Week, with the concert, and with the Beer Fest. We just really hope it'll be a couple fun-filled days.
And for a side note, for burger lovers, how do the restaurants participate? Are they all doing a special?
So they're all doing from the 22nd, Wednesday, September 22nd through the 25th. There's, I think, 18 restaurants that are partnering with us to do daily burger features, and they'll be highlighting some local craft beer as well. Some of them are going to be hosting music and some beer tastings, things like that. So yeah, just a good reason to come out and support your local restaurants and your local musicians, and yeah.
All right, and so there's a fall edition of the Huntsman Music Series, but we should also expect a winter edition too?
Yeah, so starting slow, we didn't want to overtax ourselves, and we wanted to see how it would go. So we decided on 3 shows in the theater. We might do a smaller show in sort of the gallery area of the Huntsman too, which might be a jazz night or a classical night or maybe comedy. We haven't figured it all out yet, but then there'll be a winter, sort of January through May, winter spring sort of series as well, which will be at least three shows. 2 of those shows will be associated with events that are already taking place: Winter Warmer in the end of January, beginning of February, and Paddlefest, which is May long weekend, and at least one other in between those, and then again maybe a smaller show in that gallery area to just use that space as well. One thing that's happening at the Huntsman is they're attempting or moving forward with creating a full kitchen in the aquarium itself, so they'll have ability to prepare food. So we may actually move into doing some sort of winter dinner events, sit-down dinner events with the show. But that's not this year, probably not for another year or so.
Okay, well, where can people go to look for what might be coming up? Where would be the best place to find out the announcements of, say, the next concert?
I would certainly check either the Paddlefest social media pages or the Salty Towers media pages.
Right now,
Yeah. Or the Huntsman Marine website.
Those are the best places. And then we let people know when events are coming, through our own mailing lists. And if people are interested in, being on a list like that, I would go to one of those Salty Towers or Paddlefest page and write a message saying, can you put me on your mailing list for future events.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you both for being here, and I look forward to checking it out. My guests today have been Luke Macdonald and Jamie Steele. I'm Vicki Hogarth. Thank you for watching Southwest Magazine.